I'm Natalie Hodson, and I'm here today in the bodybuilding.com kitchen showing you how to make one of my favorite recipes. It's a strawberry banana oatmeal protein bake. And I like to make this sort of as a healthier version of banana bread. So if I'm craving banana bread, but I know it's not very healthy for me, I'll make this instead. And it's also a really good meal that you can make on the weekends. You can make it in bulk, and you can keep it in your fridge during the week, or you can also freeze it. So if you have to get out the door really quickly in the morning, this is a great item you can eat for your breakfast meal. So for today's recipe, these are the ingredients that we're going to use. And we have dry ingredients and wet ingredients that we're going to mix separately. So for our dry ingredients, we have 2 cups of old-fashioned oats. And I prefer the old-fashioned oats to the instant oats, just because they've been a little bit less processed. The instant oats have actually been flattened, cooked, and dehydrated, and so the old-fashioned oats have just been rolled, and they're a little bit better for you. And then we have 4 scoops of vanilla whey protein powder. You can use any brand you prefer. Just keep in mind that the different brands will make it taste slightly different. We have 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, and this is actually optional, but flaxseed is full of omega-3 fatty acids, and they help reduce the LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and it's full of fiber and antioxidants, so it just makes the recipe a little bit healthier. And when you buy the flaxseed, it comes in a bag like this. It's already ground. And you usually can find that usually in the baking aisle of your grocery store by the other flours and things like that. Then we have 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. We have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and that's just to help the baking powder rise. And then we have a 1/2 cup of stevia in the raw. And that's what I used for this recipe. If you had Truvia or xylitol, you could use that as well. And then for our wet ingredients, I have a 1/2 cup of unsweetened applesauce, which is also 4 ounces. This is the kind I got. When you get your applesauce, you just want to make sure that you get one that says no sugar added or natural applesauce. And the most important thing you can do is read the ingredients list. So try to find one that the only ingredients are apples and water and maybe ascorbic acid, and that's just vitamin C to help keep the applesauce from turning brown. And sometimes what I'll do is I get the little Mott's containers that are for kids, and that way it's like the perfect serving size, and I have those in my cupboard for my son anyways, and I'll use those sometimes. So that's a 1/2 cup. And then we have 1.5 cups of unsweetened vanilla almond milk. And I like to use almond milk in my recipes instead of milk because it's lower in calories and it has less sugar. And this is the kind I like. I like the Almond Breeze brand unsweetened vanilla almond milk. It only has 40 calories. Just be careful when you're buying your almond milk because some of the flavors add quite a bit of sugar. So again, just read the ingredient list and make sure that, like this one has 0 grams of sugar in it. And then we're going to use a 1/4 of a cup of plain Greek yogurt. And this is the Greek yogurt that we have today. Just again, make sure that you're getting the non-fat plain Greek yogurt. Make sure you don't get one that's vanilla flavored or any other flavor because they're going to add a lot of sugar. If you look at the back, it might have anywhere from 5 to 8 grams of sugar, and those are the sugars that naturally occur in lactose. And then we're going to use 4 egg whites. I have my whole eggs here. We'll crack them when we make the recipe. And I have 2 bananas. We're going to slice these really thin. And then we have 4 or 5 strawberries, and you want to get big strawberries, so if they're kind of small, then you can go 5 or even 6. And those are all the ingredients we're going to use today in our recipe. All right, so first what we're going to do is mix all of our dry ingredients together in a bowl. So you're going to take a larger mixing bowl, and you want to put the dry ingredients in a larger mixing bowl because later we're going to mix the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. So just put your wet ingredients aside for a second, and then we're going to mix 2 cups of oats, 4 scoops of protein powder, our flaxseed, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, 1/2 cup of stevia in the raw, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to take my whisk and just make sure everything gets mixed together really well. Sometimes I have gotten lazy and not mixed it together very well, and my baking powder doesn't evenly distribute. And then when it cooks, half of it kind of is flatter than the rest. So you want to make sure that the cinnamon taste gets evenly distributed in the baking powder. And just until you can't see any more, brown spots or white spots, just until it looks nice and mixed. So this looks pretty good. So we're just gonna set this to the side and then mix together our wet ingredients. And it doesn't really matter what order. We're gonna take our almond milk. Set that to the side. Our Greek yogurt, and the Greek yogurt just adds some moisture to the recipe. And actually in any recipe, you can substitute Greek yogurt or applesauce for the butter and the oil in the recipe. So now we're gonna put in our applesauce. And just make sure you use a rubber spatula to get it all out. And then we're gonna put in our egg whites. Now a little trick that I learned, I used to just throw my egg whites in the trash can, and for some reason I could not figure out why my house smelled bad all the time. And then one day I went to go take out the trash and it was gross. I could tell egg whites or egg yolks were seeping through the bottom of the trash bag. And we realized that it was because I was eating so many egg whites and I was throwing so many egg yolks in the trash can. And so now I just throw them in the garbage disposal, so that way it doesn't stink up our house. I know some people who have dogs actually let their dogs eat the egg yolks, and it's good for their coats, but we don't have any pets, so I just do the garbage disposal. There you go. And last one. You also could do the liquid egg whites if you wanted, that come in a carton. Just make sure you use a little bit less than the ratio calls for when you bake. And then I'm gonna take my whisk and just mix this all together really well. Sometimes the egg whites can kind of stick together a little bit, so just mix it until it looks nice and mixed. Then I'm going to bring over my mixed dry ingredients, and we're just going to combine these. And then stir it all together. I have a 2-year-old and this is his favorite part. I let him usually do this while I'm cutting up the bananas, or sometimes I'll let him cut the bananas with me. It's kind of fun to get the kids involved with this recipe. It's also a really healthy meal that you could get your kids to get some whole grains into their diet. All right, so now that that's mixed, we're gonna prepare our pan. Set this to the side. And we're just gonna use an 8-inch pie pan. You could use a 9-inch pie pan as well. And if you don't have pie pans, you could even just use a square casserole dish. And then just really lightly spray that. You don't want to use a lot of this stuff, but I just use the nonstick cooking spray. And then just take your cutting board, and we're going to take one of our bananas and we're just going to slice it really thin. So take your knife. You just do pretty thin slices because you want enough banana slices that you can layer the entire bottom of the pan. Now sometimes bananas turn color after they've been exposed to the air. And so, not always, but sometimes I've made this dish before, and if I let it sit in the fridge for a couple days, it kind of turns almost a purplish color. So if that happens to you, don't be alarmed. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just because the bananas, once they get exposed to the air, they can change color. So now what I'm doing is I'm just taking the banana slices and lining the bottom of the pan. And after I'm done lining this, then we're going to pour the batter on top of the bananas. So this way, when you bite into it, you have banana taste on the bottom, and then we're going to put another layer of bananas on the top. All right, so this looks pretty good. Now what we're gonna do is pour the batter on top of the bananas. And you just evenly distribute it there. It's gonna fill the pan up all the way to the edge. And then just scrape out the rest. All right, and then what we're going to do is slice our second banana, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to put a nice layer of bananas on the top. And not only does this make it taste good, but it also makes the dish really pretty. So the thinner you slice your bananas, the more you're going to be able to put across the pan. All right. And this recipe makes 4 servings, so 1 serving really just has 1 egg white, a scoop of protein powder, and half a cup of oats, plus a little bit of Greek yogurt, a little bit of almond milk. It does have half of a banana and a little bit of spices. So this is a really good option for breakfast. And if you are kind of getting tired of just regular old egg whites and oatmeal. Okay. So I didn't distribute this very evenly, so I'm going to try and scoot some of these bananas over. That looks pretty good. Then what I'm going to do is take my strawberries, and again I'm going to slice these fairly thin. And you don't have to add the strawberries if you don't, if you don't have them. You can just do the bananas. The nice thing about this recipe is it's really versatile, so you really could use any kind of fruit. I've done this before with peaches, and that was pretty good. I've done it with blackberries. You could do it with apples. You could do it with raspberries. Really, whatever fruit's on sale that week, you could do it with. Raspberries would be really good. And then I just put the strawberries on top, like that. And I did four strawberries or 5 strawberries, just so it looks about like that. So that's it. We have the oven. I already preheated the oven to 375 degrees. So I'm going to stick this in the oven, and we are going to cook it for about 40 to 45 minutes. Basically, the top is going to get golden brown, and you know it's done once you put a knife in the center and the knife comes out clean. All right, so I just took this out of the oven. We cooked it for 45 minutes, and I'm just going to test it to make sure that a knife comes out clean. It looks pretty good. And as you can see, the top of this is going to be kind of a golden brown color. And what I'm going to do is let it sit here and rest for between 5 to 10 minutes, just until it cools. If I tried to cut into it now, it would all sort of collapse together. So we're going to let it cool and set for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then after that, I will cut it into fourths. 1 serving is 1 wedge. So I usually just use a butter knife and cut through. And then sometimes I like to take my knife and run it along the side, just in case, just so it doesn't stick. All right, then I'm just going to take a serving utensil. And pull out 1 wedge. And there you go. So what I might do is cut it in half again, or just eat it like that. So this looks really good. I'm going to try a bite and see how it tastes. It tastes really, really good. I think you'll be surprised. This is one of my favorite dishes. So for the full recipe, check the page below, and for more of my recipes and for nutritional tips and motivation, check out bodybuilding.com.